44. Are you gay or bisexual? No. That's a simple answer, isn't it? 45. Are you driven by a desire for money? If not, what drives you? No, I'm not driven by a desire for money, but like most people, you want it. That the more money you have, the more things you can buy, to state the obvious. And it does have a bearing on your life. When you sign a deal with a record company, you're trying to get as much out of it as possible. But having said that, I don't truly believe that that's the thing that drives me. It was for a while. As the 80s progressed and into the early 90s, the money was a major driving force, not so much out of greed, but out of necessity, because I was going bankrupt. I was running out of money. I was finding it hard to even get enough money together to make albums, and it was just very, very grim. The life I have, this is a very simple way of looking at it, but it does explain it, I think. The life I have is such that I wake up on a Monday morning and I look out of my window and I see people streaming past going to work, and I don't have to do that. If I don't want to work that day, then I don't have to, unless it's a tour or something obvious, but in general I don't have to. If it's a sunny day, I can go and fly my aeroplane because I've earned enough money to have one. But the most important part of it is I can choose what I want to do each day, and that's a luxury that very, very, very few people have. And I honestly believe that is the most important and the most underappreciated, perhaps, thing that people like me have. It's that level of freedom to do with your life that you want, whatever you want to do. It's not a case of having so much money that I can go and buy a small country, because I don't. I doubt I ever will. It's the fact that I could, if I want to, go to a small country rather than work. Most of the time, actually, I just work, though. 46. Do you have many friends? I do have a fair amount of friends now, yes. I've gone from having virtually none before I met Gemma to having a very large social circle now. And I'm amazed, really, how much I've missed in my life by not being that way before, by not being more sociable before. Gemma is an absolutely, well, she is the ultimate social animal. Not in a going out to parties all the time kind of way, but just in spending a huge amount of time in looking after her friends, staying in touch, caring, thinking about them. And I've been the opposite to that. Insular, not interested, don't want to use the phone. And she's, I can't honestly say she's made me any better in that sense, but she is now the other half that was missing from my social life. And she has created this social life around me, which I'm very, very grateful for and have a huge amount of pleasure from. But nonetheless, it's still Gemma that does the bulk of the work in keeping it going and keeping it active. I just get the benefits of it. She actually puts in all the work. But yes, I have a very large social circle now. 47. Is it true you have a social skills disorder? It is. Yes. I won't bother to name it because I'll probably get it wrong. But there is a disorder, which I have a very mild form of, I have to say, which involves interacting with people. There are certain skills that we learn as we're growing to do with communicating with other people. But certain things where conversations are easy, and you may notice that you find some people are just easier to get on with than others. They have good skills. They are able to talk more freely. None of those awkward silences that we're all well aware of. I'm just not like that at all. I find it quite difficult to make conversation unless I feel particularly confident in some way or another. And so I can actually talk quite easily to certain people and have no problems at all. But I'm easily put off and easily made to feel awkward and clumsy in social situations. Things like I misunderstand constantly. I don't ever ask people what they do for a living because I feel like I'm intruding. But then, of course, people think that I'm not interested because I'm not asking them about themselves, and so they think I'm being standoffish or I don't care. And so then I react to that. And it's all just a big misunderstanding. And I could give you dozens of examples of that sort of thing where I don't really know what I'm doing. I do not have this instinctive ability to communicate with other people, which is probably why I tend to be reclusive. Gemma has all of the social skills you could possibly wish for, and she guides me through it and eases me into conversations, and is just generally brilliant at understanding my problems and bringing me out of myself and bringing me forward, and giving me a much better life socially than I could ever have dreamed of without her. 48. Is it true you have a telephone phobia? I do have a bit of a telephone phobia, yes, which is a bit awkward many years ago, because when I was about 16, 17, 18, that sort of time, I used to work for an air freight company, a number of them actually, on the telephones, and I was so weirded out about using the phone. I was rubbish, was completely rubbish at my job, wouldn't ring people up, so things went missing, and just useless at it. And even now, I'm not good on the phone. I'm forever running away from the phone and disappearing into another room because I don't like to talk on it. Whenever I am on it, I can't wait to get off it most of the time, because I feel like I'm walking a tightrope the whole time I'm on it, and like at any second it's all going to go wrong, and I feel really uncomfortable on the phone. There are times when I'm doing telephone interviews when it's cool and it's okay, because I kind of know what I'm doing. It's going to be a question, I'm going to answer it, and it's not conversation in the same way. I'm alright with that, but just ringing somebody up, I think it goes back to when I was a kid, and I remember being with someone, and when the phone rang they answered it, and then he started making faces down the phone, and I thought, God, I'd hate to be the person on the other end of that. And I kind of never got over wondering if I ever am that person on the other end of the phone that people are making faces at. So it's a deep level of insecurity that I've never grown out of, no matter how old I've got. It's with me forever, I think. 49. Do you believe friendship is forever? I believe it can be, but I don't believe it's a right. I think if you become friends with somebody, you become friends for a reason. There is something about them that appeals to you, be it simple personality or a shared hobby or whatever it might be. You become friends with somebody for a reason. However, if that person you became friends with changes to any reasonable degree and is no longer the sort of person that you would actually choose to be a friend, I don't see any reason why you should stick with them. If somebody becomes really boring, a baby bore, or they drink too much and they start getting aggressive and miserable and violent all over the place, I don't want them as a friend anymore. A friendship is something that you earn, and it's something you keep on earning. You have to be a good friend to stay a friend of mine anyway. 50. Do you worry about getting older? I'm not worried about getting older. Really, no. How can I put it? I'm aware that time appears to be going past much more quickly at the moment than it did when I was younger. So I'm now just coming up to 43. I'm 43 in March, depending on when you hear this. March the 8th, 2001. So that means perhaps I've got another 40 years to go if I'm lucky. But it's not going to seem like the same amount of time as the 40 years I've just had, because life is now going past so quickly, or it appears to be. So the next 40 years is going to seem like the first 25. So if, in effect, I'm actually 3/4 of the way through my life the way it's going to appear to be, the way I'm going to perceive time. So I'm not worried about being older because I just don't want to be old. I think it can be a cool thing to be older. There's compensations to do with experience and, dare I say it, charm, general mellowness that comes with growing older, that my grandparents had stacks of. I think if I had a choice, I'd stay where I am now. I kind of like where I am now.